One cold winter's night, outside an orphanage, a small wooden fruit box was left. Inside the box was a baby wrapped in a woolen rug with a note attached to it. The message on a scrap of paper read, "This baby is the last thing I need right now. Please be kind to him." The unwanted baby was brought up for a number of years by those who ran the orphanage. He was pet named Baby Bo, and later on he became known as Bobo. Mr. Mulvanna, the PE teacher, taught Bobo some boxing and judo, and eventually Bobo was taken up by the local boxing club. It didn't take long for Bobo to make his way into the ring, and his talent came to the fruition of making many people sit back and notice. Although he was still living at the orphanage, the day had come for Bobo to make his way out into the world. So to help him get started, Bobo was given a job in St. John's Bosco's, the local boxing club. They gave him a judo mat to sleep on in the corner of the boxing club, and in return Bobo did some sweeping up in the club and kept the place neat and tidy, and did a bit of security besides. When Bobo started to fight as a pro, he made a small wage in prize fights and earned enough money to buy clothes and food and rent a nearby flat. Cameras were flashing as Bobo went over and took a drink from his water bottle and checked his tires and then rang the bell several times on the bike. Charlie slowly stirred into life and Bobo rushed over to his side. "How many fingers have I put up?" Bobo said. Charlie took a long time because Bobo kept changing the number of fingers he had. 6, 1, 3, 4. Oh, stop it, Bobo, you're cheating. Everyone was laughing as Charlie got to his feet and back up onto his bike. Charlie was an innocent big lad and loved to capture each moment. Noticing the cameras were on him, he started to do some bike tricks for the crowd. He briefly stood up and balanced himself with one leg on the saddle and the other in the air. Then he began to sit back down and rode around in a circle with the front wheel in the air. Bobo and the rest of the lads sat and waited until Charlie had finished his little show. "Are we ready then, Charlie?" said Bobo. Charlie apologised and asked if they could wait a moment longer as he needed to go to the toilet. "Sure thing, Charlie. We'll just wait here. Don't mind us," Lefty said. While he was away, Spider and Skeeter took his bike and hid it behind a parked car. The growing audience were now caught up in the antics between the lads, who tried to stop laughing as Charlie returned. "Welcome back, Charlie. Now, let's go, lads," Bobo said. Charlie had a very worried look on his face as he raced about here and there, frantically trying to locate his bike. "Hurry up, Charlie. It's getting dark, and we have 100 miles to go," Lefty said. "My bloody bike's gone! Where's my bloody bike?" Charlie screamed. "What are you talking about?" Bobo said. "My bloody blue bike's gone! Where is it?" Charlie said. "Then you'll just have to stay home, Charlie," said Bobo. Behind Charlie's back, Spider and Skeeter quietly returned Charlie's bike. Everyone except Charlie mounted their bikes and couldn't keep a straight face as Charlie's lips started to quiver. All the lads gave Charlie a wave, who turned his back on them, and in doing so saw his bike there on the pavement. All the audience burst into fits of laughter as Charlie turned around and grabbed his blue bike. He jumped straight on and began shouting, "Yes, my bloody bike's bloody come back! It's bloody well come back!" he said. Eventually all the lads were on their bikes and making their way up to Black Mountain Way. It was all uphill and the going was tough. Up the mountain bikes all made their way as twilight slowly crept in. And as night fell, the 6 riders stopped at a farmhouse and asked the farmer at Horseshoe Corner if they could spend the night in the barn. Once the farmer realised who they were and the mission that they were on, not only did he give them his barn, but he cooked them a dinner as well. That night, Bo and the boys lay there. They all shared a few jokes and a few stories, and there was a bit of clowning around before going to sleep. Charlie did some shadow boxing in the corner, and as always was far too heavy with a snap left cross, much too close to the wall, which resulted in a large hole in the barn wall. Bobo wasn't happy with Charlie. "Well, that's just great. Instead of boxing your shadow, you've gone and knocked it out. And just look, you've demolished the farmer's barn." Bobo inspected the hole and found there was another wall there behind the hole. The hole that Charlie had punched was just a post wall. "Charlie, bring me a torch, will you?" Bobo said. Charlie said, "Torch, okay, Bobo, what colour do you want? Blue? I got a blue one, Lefty's got a yellow one, Spider's got a green one, Bobo." Bobo interrupted, "Just bring me one that works, Charlie." With the bag tightly in his hand, Bobo led the way up to the farmhouse door, where he knocked loudly until it was opened by the old man, who looked half asleep and stunned. "What's the matter?" he said. "Can we come in?" Bobo said. "All right, I guess so." The farmer looked on as Bobo emptied the contents of the bag onto the floor. It was as quiet as a church, until Bobo broke the silence and said, "One of the lads was shaping up like, and when he threw a haymaker at his own shadow, he smashed a hole through the wall in your barn. But if he hadn't done so, we wouldn't have discovered what was behind it. This bag looks to me like it was stashed there by somebody. Now, it belongs to you, old man." The old farmer rushed away, and a short time later he returned, pushing a wheelchair with a woman who smiled and waved at the lads. "This is my wife, Ethel. I've just told her what you found," the farmer said. Bobo reached out his hand gently and said, "Pleased to meet you, Ethel." She replied in a soft but clear voice, "This farm has been in my family for 3 generations. There has always been a story about some treasure that was buried on the farm somewhere, but no one had ever been able to find it." They all gathered around Bobo as he shone the torch down into the hole. "There's something down there. Here, hold my legs while I see if I can grab it." Bobo was half suspended in the air as he squeezed himself down inside the gap between the 2 walls. He pulled out a leather bag covered in dust. It looked as if the bag had been there a long time. Once the lads pulled him back out, he opened the bag. Inside it was a bundle of money and some small gold coins. Charlie started dancing around the barn. "We're rich, we're rich, we're rich!" Bobo stood, looking long and hard at Charlie, before shouting, "Right then, follow me." With the bag tightly in his hand, Bobo led the way up to the farmhouse door, where he knocked loudly until it was opened by the old man, who looked half asleep and stunned. "What's the matter?" he said. "Can we come in?" Bobo said. "All right, I guess so." The farmer looked on as Bobo emptied the contents of the bag onto the floor. It was as quiet as a church, until Bobo broke the silence and said, "One of the lads was shaping up like, and when he threw a haymaker at his own shadow, he smashed a hole through the wall in your barn. But if he hadn't done so, we wouldn't have discovered what was behind it. This bag looks to me like it was stashed there by somebody. Now, it belongs to you, old man." The old farmer rushed away, and a short time later he returned, pushing a wheelchair with a woman who smiled and waved at the lads. "This is my wife, Ethel. I've just told her what you found," the farmer said. Bobo reached out his hand gently and said, "Pleased to meet you, Ethel." She replied in a soft but clear voice, "This farm has been in my family for 3 generations. There has always been a story about some treasure that was buried on the farm somewhere, but no one had ever been able to find it. The story goes that during the war my father had hid all his life savings somewhere on the property because he feared that it would be discovered and stolen by some of the soldiers from the enemy. We all thought it was just a story, because no one had ever found the money, that is, until now. It seems that you have brought back my father's treasure untouched. Let's have a drink." The old man went, and he brought over a bottle of Irish whiskey and placed 8 crystal glasses on the table. With a slow and steady hand, he poured a good measure into each glass, and lifting his glass, he proposed a toast to the 6 honest boxers who had returned the family's treasure. After counting out the money, a large slice was donated by the farmer and his wife to the orphans, and what was left over was more than enough to see the odd couple right through the fine years of their life. The next morning, the 6 bikers made their way back over the Black Mountain and on down through the glens. After the farmer and his wife had spread the story about the lads who found the lost treasure, certain newspapers and TV and other media outlets all over the country took the story up and began to run with it, and the response was instant. And large donations for the orphanage began to pour in. Within a year, there was a trust fund that had been set up, and every orphan child inside the orphanage would be guaranteed a better future. Some of the children were brought in to families and given good homes. Some of the orphan boys joined up at Bosco's, and Bobo took on managing them. Although he hung his boxing gloves up many years ago, Bobo had managed to put Boxing Club in Belfast back on top of the ladder as the leading club in all the land.